Vayichan sham Yisrael neged ha'har kulanu ke'echad.
As we count the days of Sfiras HaOmer, and today, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, already anticipate Ma'amad Har Sinai, we're more sensitive to the transition between Pesach and Shavuos. We've been counting these days, on one hand, historically, from the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim until the time of Matan Toratenu, but we've also been tracking the agricultural development from bringing the Karban Omer, the first of the barley, until now, until bringing the first of the wheat, the first of the Sheva Minim, that we can bring starting from Shavuos. But there are numerous other transitions that we should be sensitive to during this time period that I believe can be very evident as we open up Ruth. We have left the romance of Shir Hashirim, and now we see what appears to be, again, a basic story. Not even, again, such a story of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On one hand, Hashem appears at the very beginning of the story, as Naomi tells us, returning to Beit Lechem Yehuda. Hashem hemar li ma'od. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, again, embittered my life very much. But at the same time, she also recognizes, Ki pakad Hashem et amo latit lahem lechem. She wants to return to Eretz Yisrael because Hashem has provided us with food. And so too, at the ends of Megillas Rus, we're going to find that HaKadosh Baruch Hu also provides with children. The various neighbors tell Naomi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo hishbit lach goel hayom. Hashem also provides with children. But in the middle, we hear of all these different characters. We hear of Naomi, who is going to get up instead of wallowing in depression in the fields of Moab after her husband and her sons Machlon and Kilion have died. We hear of Boaz, who is going to initiate with kindness, with chesed to Ruth. And ultimately, we hear of Ruth. We hear of Ruth, who, like Avraham Avinu, is willing to sacrifice her entire past, undergo her own Olami-RZA, sacrifice her entire heritage for the sake of loyalty to Naomi. And then again, is going to sacrifice her entire future as she's willing to listen to Naomi. And after weeks and weeks, 7 weeks of working for Boaz on his fields, is going to listen to Naomi as she tells Ruth, go down to the Goren. And I'd like to examine that scene in Megillas Rus, wherein Ruth is going to obey Naomi and is going to lie down by Boaz. And there we find in Megillat Ruth, Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. Albeit we find numerous scenes in Tanakh that happen at midnight. The 5th century Paitan Yanai in Eretz Yisrael composes a beautiful piyut that we sing on the night of the Seder. Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. Avraham Avinu saves Lot in the middle of the night. And Esther approaches Achashverosh in the middle of the night. And Shimshon is going to destroy the bayit of the Plishtim in the middle of the night and take the gates of Gaza in the middle of the night. But basically, the only 2 times in the entire Tanakh that we hear the exact same terminology, not Vayhi b'chatzi layla, but Vayhi b'chatzi halayla, are here in the story of Ruth, and in the story of Pesach, in the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. And we look at these 2 stories, we find that there really are certain similarities, just like the stories of Mitzrayim begin with Yaakov Avinu going from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz because of a Ra'av, and ultimately then, the blossoming of Am Yisrael, but at the same time, the shibud of Am Yisrael in Mitzrayim. So too, the story of Ruth begins with a Ra'av in Beit Lechem Yehuda that is going to lead Elimelech and his children and his wife to Sdei Moab, to go to Chutz La'aretz. Just as the stories then also emphasize the names, Ele Shmot, Bnei Yisrael, Haba'im Mitzrayma, so too we hear at the beginning of Megillas Rus as well. V'shem ha'ish Elimelech, v'shem ishto Naomi, v'shem shnei banav Machlon v'Chilion, shem ha'chaterpa, shem ha'shenit Ruth. We hear of the names themselves, and we have to ask ourselves even, what's in a name? Well, just like the names of Yaakov Avinu that constitute a bayit, a Beit Yisrael that ultimately lead to a nation, so too each name, Lahakim Shem Hamet al Yisrael. It's not just the significance of the plays of names in Megillas Rus, not only what Shmuel HaNavi wants to teach us through their names, whether it's that Orpah turns her nape of her neck, and Naomi, again, being pleasant and changing her name to Marat, even more than that, the significance of a name, Lahakim Shem Hamet al Nachlato, to make sure that a name is perpetuated throughout the generations. And just like In the stories of Yetziat Mitzrayim, we find that Geula begins with Vayelech ish mi Beit Levi vayikach et bat Levi, so too Vayelech ish mi Beit Lechem Yehuda lagur b'stei Moav. And in both stories, we also have the annihilation, really, of children. In the story of Paro, it's Kol haben hayolod hayorat hashlichu v'chol habat hachayun. In the story of Ruth, we hear of the death of the children, of Naomi's children, of Machlon and Chilion, that die after living in Moab and taking wives of Moab. And interestingly, we hear of similar star characters, whether it's Moshe and his father-in-law Yitro, and Ruth and her mother-in-law Naomi. And at the same time, we hear that in order for them to serve as leaders, we hear that the basic midah that the Torah focuses on, before we hear of Moshe's gadlut in Torah, we hear of Moshe's gadlut ben Adam l'chavero. We hear of Moshe's sensitivity of looking out for the underdog. We hear so too of Boaz and Ruth, who care for others, those that are weaker than they. We hear of Ruth's loyalty. We hear of Boaz responding to that loyalty with his own sense of loyalty and chesed as well. So with all that background, we're not surprised then to find Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. But what happens b'chatzi halayla? Vayhi b'chatzi halayla, we know, going back to Shmos Perek Yud Bet, b'chatzi halayla, that's when there was Makat V'chorot. That's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu saved Am Yisrael from this terrible plague. That's what allows Am Yisrael ultimately to leave Mitzrayim. Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. Ani v'lo malach, ani v'lo saraf, ani Hashem v'lo acher. That was the bombastic debut of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That was all of Mitzrayim and Am Yisrael recognizing Hashem Hu Elokim. What happens here in Megillas Rus? What's this Vayhi b'chatzi halayla? No one's there other than Boaz and Ruth. This isn't the manifestation of the Shekhinah. On the contrary, Ruth tells Boaz, Boaz, do you remember? You told me that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yishalem Hashem Palech, Hashem, who you came to rest under his wings. Asher bata l'chaso tacha knafav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should reward you. Ruth turns to Boaz and says, you reward me. You should spread your wings. Don't just leave everything up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You initiate. And sure enough, that's what happens. B'chatzi halayla. B'chatzi halayla, Megillas Rus, there aren't large miracles of salvation. They're what we call small miracles. Miracles ben adam l'chavero. A miracle of someone who sees Ruth and asks Mi'at and gives her an identity. A miracle of a man who's able to restrain himself and offer the proper kavod, and recognizing that there's a Goel who's even closer to the family than he is. A miracle of a man and a woman who are there in order to provide not just for the tshuva, but the geula of Naomi, for having a long-term recognition and a homeland, a nachala in Eretz Yisrael to carry the names. And therefore, when we take a look at the various parallels, but at the same time differences between what happens at midnight, we see two very different miracles at midnight. We hear the miracles in Shmo Perek Yud Bet, Vayhi b'chatzi halayla, v'Hashem hika kol b'chor be'eretz Mitzrayim. And in Ruth Perek Gimel, Vayhi b'chatzi halayla, v'yacharat ha'ish v'yelafet, v'hinei isha shochevet margelotav. There are no deaths going on, no malach hamavet, no karban Pesach. It's a man and a woman in a goren on a threshing floor. In Shmo Perek Yud Bet, we hear that Paro sends Am Yisrael out in the middle of the night and says, wait a second, after all these years of repression, by the way, I want you to give me a bracha also. Uveirachtem gam uti. And in Megillas Rus, Vayhi b'chatzi halayla, there we find, Vayomer brucha at lahashem biti, heitav chastecha charon min harishon. We hear not of someone who says, bless me, but we hear of Boaz who says, you should be blessed. This chesed root of not only forfeiting your entire past for the sake of accompanying Naomi to Eretz Yisrael, but forfeiting your entire future. You can marry anyone, and instead you're going to marry someone within the family to enable the Hakamat Shem Hamet. Nothing like that. Wow, that's a miracle. Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. And if in the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, we hear of Paro who sends Am Yisrael out after hundreds of years of avdos, of slavery, without even allowing them to prepare their food. They have nothing to leave their homes with. They don't even have a chance to prepare to bake their matzos. Versus Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. Boaz not only is going to send Ruth home, promising her that he'll take care of Geula, but he also is going to give her, to provide for her with a seurim, to make sure that she and Nomi have what to eat. Instead of Paro, who sends Am Yisrael out, very quickly, doesn't want them even to stay there till the next morning. Boaz says, you can stay here till the next morning. You'll leave before anyone knows that you're there, but he doesn't chase her out. Notice all the contrast that we hear. And what Shmuel HaNavi is trying to tell us in Sefer Ruth is look at these miracles. They're not the same miracles as Yetzias Mitzrayim, but they're no less miraculous, because these are miracles ben Adam l'chaveiro. We hear that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the story of Shemot, had told Moshe Rabbeinu that when you leave Mitzrayim, lo tachu rikam, don't worry, I'm going to make sure, because Paro certainly isn't, I'm going to make sure that you're not going to leave empty-handed. You're going to leave as a fulfillment of what I told Avraham Avinu. Boaz, without any external impetus or any other incentive, says, Al tavoi rekam lachamotech. On his own, he says, I want to make sure that you don't leave here empty-handed. And lastly, when Am Yisrael leave Mitzrayim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one to make sure that they have food. And after their matzah sources are depleted, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings them the man from Shemayim, the miraculous leaven from heaven, an Omer la Gilgolet. And in the story of Boaz and Ruth, Boaz is the one to make sure that Ruth will have Omarim, like the Omer of the man, to take home to Naomi. This is the Chiddush of the miracle of Megillas Ruth. But the Navi is teaching you is that this story is one of Geula as well. It may not be of national Geula, of national redemption, but it's personal Geula. It's a story that's going to fix the problems of Sefer Shoftim, a time of complete anarchy, of lack of concern one for the other, of despising of a Nachri. And come along people like Boaz and Ruth and Naomi, and they show us that miracles and Geula can happen again. And we don't have to wait around for the bombastic miracles of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rather, the miracles can happen ben Adam l'chaveiro. What a message for Rosh Chodesh Sivan. What a message for Vayichan Shani Yisrael neged ahar ish echad b'leiv echad. This is the message that Shmuel HaNavi wants to teach us through Megillas Ruth. That on one hand, we have miracles of HaKadosh Baruch Hu initiated by Rachmana Dilamala, in order to ensure that we have Geula. But he's also telling us that we can fix the problems of our generation, certainly a problem of Vayhibi Meshvot HaShoftim, fixing the problems of Avodah Zarah and Shvichot Damim and Gilui Arayot through the actions of man, through our own Vayhi B'Chatzi Halayla, through the chesed that we display one towards the other. How appropriate then, on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, Vayichan Sham Yisrael neged ahar ki ish echad b'leiv echad, to be able to display those kindnesses, those smiles one to the other. That's what brings Geula. And that's what we see here through the story of Ruth. We know that there are 12 times in Tanakh that the word Toladot appears, 10 times in Sefer Bereshis, where we hear the development, the formation of Am Yisrael. And then in Sefer Shemot, we hear of the Toldot of Aaron HaKohen. We hear how from a nation we also become Vatem Tiyuli Mamlechet Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh. And then we have at the end of Sefer Ruth the closure. Ele Toladot, these are the Toldot, these are the generations that lead to Malchus. And what are those generations? Who are the fathers, the mothers of those generations? Those are the Balei Chesed that we find. Chazal perhaps teach us then in Brachot Gimel Amud Aleph that David HaMelech, based on Tehillim, Chatzot Laila Akum Lahodot LaHashem, he would place his beautiful harp above his bed, Chatzot Laila, waiting to get up, and whether it's singing Shirei Halal TaKadosh Baruch Hu, learning Torah all night, he, the great-grandson of Ruth, knew the power of Chatzos HaLaila. He knew that that's the time not only to be involved in Ben Adam L'Makom, but to be involved in Ben Adam L'Chaveiro. He knew that that's the time that we can truly bring miracles. That's the time where we can catalyze the process of Geula. Chazal teach us that Sefer Ruth is written, and albeit it looks like at the beginning a sefer, as we said, that starts with HaKadosh Baruch Hu providing for the food and ends with HaKadosh Baruch Hu providing for children, but in the meantime, it's all the Masa Bnei Adam. It's all the different characters who help bring those together with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's going to be Ruth and Boaz who, with certainly HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but with their own actions as well, are going to make sure that there's zera, that there's child, that there's nachala in Eretz Yisrael for Naomi, that are going to bring us from the fields, from the sadeh to a bayit, to not just any bayit, but back to Beit Lechem, and not just any field and house in Beit Lechem, but the Beit Malchut. Maybe that's why Rav Kook says, Shir Hashirim, the time of Pesach, that's the time of Hitzaruta Dil'il. That's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the powers up above. That's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu manifests himself with the great miracles. But Megillat Ruth, that's Avas Hashem as well. Those are the miracles of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but Hitzaruta Dilutata. But this time it comes from us. It comes from Basar Vadam. It comes from human kindness. Rabbi Zera teaches us that Megillah Zo Ein Ba Lo Tuma V'Lo Tahara. This is a story which is not about Tuma and Tahara. It's about Boaz bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the picture. Brucha at biti laHashem. It's about Nomi bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the picture. It's about Ruth bringing HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the picture. And at the same time, why is the Sefer so important? Generally, we learn because it teaches us chesed. But Baruch Hashem, we have so many stories of chesed in Tanakh. We have the stories of Rivka Imenu. We have stories of Avram Avinu. What really is the Chiddush, as Chazal teach us in Ruth Rabbah, L'lametcha kama sachar tov legomlei chasadim. To teach us not just about chesed, but to teach us the rewards of those who perform chesed. And the Rambam says, chesed isn't just what you do, lifnim mishur sadim. Chesed is what you do when you don't expect anything in return. And just when you don't expect anything in return, what does the story of Ruth tell us? Vayhi b'chatzi halayla. Just get ready because there are going to be great miracles tonight. These are going to be the miracles that lead to Geula, that lead to Mashiach ben David. These are going to be the miracles that one person displays to the other. And this then is what's going to bring to rewards of those who do chesed. Ruth is all about what Naomi did. She got up, she had no idea, and how she was going to ensure the survival of her family and the name of her family. Boaz, that night at the Goren, did he know that he was going to become the great-grandfather of David HaMelech? And Ruth HaMoaviyah, did she ever imagine that her fidelity and devotion to Naomi would also then give her the title of Ima Shel Malchus? Certainly not. Kama sachar tov legomlei chasadim. What we should be thinking of when we, especially during difficult times, challenging times like today, and we're wondering, and David Lichtenstein asks, what do we tell our children who want to know how to bring Mashiach, who are disappointed? Isn't this the time period of Mashiach? And the answer is, don't just wait till the miracles of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't wait till the Vayhi b'chatzi halayla of Shmo Perek Yudbet. Go, make those miracles happen. Make the miracles happen through acts of kindness. And therefore, I also don't think that it's by chance that this miracle happens in the Goren, that happens on the threshing floor. It happens in this area between the bayit and the sadeh, between the house and the field. It happens in not just the Goren, but Ha-Goren. Shmuel Hanavi, who writes Sefer Ruth, also writes Sefer Shmuel, and writes about, and his Talmidim writing about the selection of Yerushalayim by David HaMelech, not just in Goren, but Ha-Goren. The only two times that we find the Goren, Ha-Goren mentioned in all of Tanakh, even though there are other threshing floors that are referred to, but Ha-Goren is when David purchases the Goren from Aravna HaYevusi. Boaz is going to perform a chesed to Ruth HaMoaviyah, to someone who is treated as a nochriya, as someone who's estranged. We know that in Sefer Shoftim, the story of Pilegish Begiva, he doesn't want to go to the Ir Yevusi, to Yerushalayim. It's an Ir Nochri. We don't pay attention to Nochrim. But perhaps in the schus of Boaz, recognizing, showing chesed and kindness and respect to Ruth HaMoaviyah HaNochriya, Aravna HaYevusi HaNochri, is going to then give David, literally allow David to purchase the Goren, Ha-Goren of Aravna HaYevusi. I don't think Boaz was thinking that night of Kama Sachar Tov Legomlei Chasadim, of the rewards that he and Ruth would have for their devotion and kindness, one to the other, and to know me, to have a Malchut of a Beit David Melech HaMashiach. And I also don't think that Boaz was giving Shisha Sa'urim that morning to Ruth, thinking that his grandson would then purchase Hagoren of Aravna HaYevusi, that he would establish the Malchus of Hashem in Yerushalayim. And that's the message of Ruth, teaching us that we can make miracles happen. One of my favorite midrashim that we find in Ruth Rabbah, Rav Eliezer Omer, Boaz asat shalo, v'Ruth astat shala, v'Naomi astat shala. That if we look carefully at the characters, each one initiates. Boaz is the one who looks after Ruth, even though the Nar HaNitzav al HaKutzrim does not give a very favorable picture of this woman, this Moaviyah, who's been here the whole morning. And Naomi astat shala, Naomi, who could have wallowed in depression after her husband and her children have died. Vatakom Naomi, Naomi gets up, and she wants to return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by returning to Eretz Yisrael, where Hashem has already manifested himself by giving food to the people of Bnei Israel. And Boaz asa et shalo, v'Ruth asta et shala. And Ruth, who is the greatest supporting actress in all of Tanakh, Ruth, who gives up her past and her future for the sake of Naomi's tshuva and Naomi's geula. We hear that all these three characters initiate. And Rabbi Eliezer says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Afani aseh et sheli. Hashem says, I was basically waiting for your miracles in order for me to perform a miracle. The story of Ruth reminds us that we have it within all of us to truly bring about geula, a geula that's even greater than geulas Mitzrayim, a geula that brings to Melech HaMashiach, a geula that brings to the geula shlema. And this geula, we're told, is not going to come with fire nor brimstone. This geula is not going to come vayhi b'chatzi halayla Mitzrayim. This is a geula that comes b'chatzi halayla in the Keren, by showing chesed one to the other. May these acts of achdus and kindness and respect that we display remind HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, we're doing what we can. Afata taseh et shelcha. Chag Sameach, and may we Be'ezrat Hashem be zocheh for geula shlema.
כאיש אחד, אוי אוי בלבך